Hey guys, welcome to the Live, Live, Play podcast. I'm your host Stephen Kinsella, and today we are talking about Movember, this year's 2019 Movember campaign, and I have Jack O'Connor from the Movember Foundation who's come out to FSM to have a chat and tell us a little bit more about Movember itself and its plans for 2019 and going forward. So Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So firstly, Jack, you've been, as you said, this is your 6th campaign with Movember.
That's right, yeah.
And tell us a little bit about your journey with Movember and how's it gone over the last 6 years?
Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. My background before working in Movember was in kind of marketing, events, and branding.
Yeah.
And then just before I started working with Movember, I got really into mental health and started pursuing psychology as a career path. So I started to, becoming a clinical psychologist is a really, really long road, and so I took the first step of what will be a 20-year-ish kind of journey. Now I'm stretching that out. And so the role of Movember came up. I started in community engagement, working directly with fundraisers. So the role came up and it seemed like a nice marrying of the two. So putting what I knew about marketing and branding and events, putting all that, knowledge to use, but for something for a good cause, and something that I've become more passionate about in recent times, and it certainly delivered on that.
Yeah. And so when I we spoke about it in the car on the way up. I first found out about Movember. It was created in Australia.
That's right.
I first found out about it in Australia, and as I said, I just started seeing a bunch of guys with tashes, and I thought it was a new fashion trend. I was like, oh, these Australian guys are so weird. It's the first time I ever seen skinny jeans as well, so I was a little bit kind of, can't wait to go home. But obviously it was for a charity and for a charitable cause. With Movember, it started off for male cancer. It was testicular cancer and getting male men checked and awareness of that. For you, in obviously being in Ireland now and seeing what's been happening around, where do you feel like men are in regards to being more open to getting checked, more open to understanding more about cancer and cancer awareness, really?
Yeah, I think it's getting better.
Yeah.
When the guys started Movember in 2003, it was off the back of one of the guys seeing a TV ad for prostate cancer checks.
Yeah.
And the first thing that caught his attention was the DRE, the digital rectal examination.
Yeah.
And he was kind of laughing to himself, and then he saw the statistics. Now, at this time in Australia, the breast cancer movement was really taking off, and so he knew all of the breast cancer stats inside out. And what he couldn't believe when he saw this ad was that it was pretty much the same. It was affecting the same number of men as breast cancer was affecting women. The side effects were pretty nasty. And he was shocked that he'd never heard of it. And so he went back to the guys and he said, have you heard of prostate cancer? And none of them had.
Yeah.
So, they had a little bit of a giggle about the DRE, the finger up the bum, but then they're like, no, this is not funny, it's really not funny, we should do something. And so they started growing mustaches to raise funds, and that was really the beginning, and there was an appetite for that.
Yeah.
In the very early stages of Movember, one of the things that the guys realized they needed to do, more so than investing in, big research programs or anything too on the ground, what we needed to do was actually get guys to be aware of prostate cancer and to actually go and get checked. So what we're touching on there is the thing called help-seeking behaviour, which us guys are traditionally really, really bad at.
Yeah.
And we don't like to go to the doctor. We don't like to go get things checked out. We tend to bury our head in the sand and ignore things. And in more recent years, as we've looked at mental health, we've realised that it's the same behaviour we need to change. We need to get guys to be okay with seeking help and to I suppose open up a bit more, and look, things are changing. I think people are getting more and more engaged, but there's still there's a lot of, especially around mental health, there's a lot of it's okay not to be okay, please talk, all these great campaigns that are raising awareness. But what I feel is that for a small number of people who still feel it's not okay to be okay, the issue is compounded because they feel maybe this extra layer of shame that everyone's just saying it's okay
and they're not,
and they're still in this rut, and so the group of people is maybe getting a bit smaller.
Yeah.
But for them that issue is maybe getting a little bit worse, and so it's an issue in the dark, and it's difficult to tackle.
Because you could be saying, oh well, I am open, but you're actually not open, and not
Sure,
open to talk because you're just trying to, like, you're afraid of what. And again, it's I suppose it's a stigma. And it's a self-stigma because you're kind of saying, well, if I say this, what are people going to think of me, and is that showing weakness, and that whole thing of a man being a man. And I have a good kind of friend that I have, Jody Kennedy, who's started to be rewilding, and you go to the beach, you run trails, you throw stones, like caveman kind of back to basics. Then you go into the cave and you do some breathing, and you try and get a little bit more emotional about things. And the feedback that he's getting on that is huge, because guys are getting a kind of a place where they can just kind of let everything out, which again in society is kind of like, and I grew up, a man doesn't cry, a man's a man, and I personally don't. Like, I get given out to a lot for I don't show a lot of emotion in sad times. I get angry because I have a lot of emotions, I just don't have that particular one. But I do get upset and I do these things. But I would probably be a person that would find it hard to go sit in a room and tell people how I'm actually feeling, if I'm having a bad day, or I'd have one or two close friends that I could rely on if I had to tell them something, but I'd probably try and offset that. And it's that whole mentality for me would be suck it up and stuff like that. And the more I research, the more I learn, the more I'm like talking to yourself and doing stuff like Movember, and like reading people's stories and seeing people getting help and doing better and having a better life, I think is a better. I'm starting to understand it more, and then that's one of the other reason why I was looking to have you on the podcast, because I want to know more. Obviously, people listening want to know more, but I want to know more about it. But back to I wanted to touch on the mental health side of things as well. But we just did a charity event in Berlin, and the guy was saying 1 in 2 people have been affected by cancer in some way, shape, or form. That's the latest stats. What are the kind of, do you know them off where the stats are for men, for men, like male, like testicular cancer and cancer of men? Do you know what they are? I don't know. I don't know them off the top of my head. Right?
Sure. In Ireland, 1 in 7.
1 in 7.
Men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Okay.
Now the thing with prostate cancer is that if you catch it early, you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
But if you catch it late, your options can be limited, and the issue. So, prostate cancer actually won't kill you unless it breaks out of the prostate.
Okay.
And it spreads to other areas, and that's when it can become a real life-threatening issue.
Yeah.
But one of the things that people forget, so like the medical definition for survivorship is it's a really low bar. It's you're not dead. It doesn't really take into account a man's well-being, how happy he is. And so some of the more serious side effects of prostate cancer treatment can be things like sexual dysfunction, or incontinence. And so there's a guy, a UK ambassador for us, Elvin, he talks very openly about not having had enough information at the point of diagnosis for him to make the right decisions.
Yes.
That he might have gone down a different treatment path had he known that
what were the consequences of.
At the moment he's unable to make love to his wife, and that's something he's very open about and talks quite passionately about as something that frustrates him. And so a lot of the work that we've done in prostate cancer is try to get as much information into the hands of prostate cancer patients, so that they can make informed decisions to live happy, healthy lives beyond their cancer diagnosis. So as you said, 1 in 7. So we have it's a crazy stat that 1 in 7 people. So there's 4 people in this building, all male. So statistically, one of us could be. I know it's 1 in 7, but 3 more people. If we include the guys next door, there's about 9 people. One of us is due to
experienced this, like
Yeah.
a horrible infliction. So for guys that don't know like where to go, like is like on the Movember website there would be information on like kind of where to go to get your, obviously your normal GP can do your tests and stuff like that, but even like a community, a forum or anything along those lines where guys can go on and like be slightly anonymous and like ask some questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Movember.com has a lot of information that can point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
The PSA test is the standard level 1 test for prostate cancer. It's a blood test for PSA, the prostate specific antigen.
Yeah.
Now we would say that guys should be getting that done annually from the age of 45 onwards.
Okay.
Maybe a bit younger if you've had prostate cancer in your family, if
Yes.
your dad had prostate cancer or a brother or an uncle, because genetics is a big indicator that it could be coming your way. And as I say, if you can catch it early, all the better. The PSA is an imperfect test. You can have false alarms. So my dad actually has high PSA and he's gonna check that out. But there are a couple of other things, like you could have an inflamed prostate. There are a couple of other things that can cause you to have high PSA in the blood.
Yeah.
But it's the best test we've got at the moment. There is a team in Movember globally trying to find a new test looking at biomarkers. There actually needs to be looking at a more specific
So
test
they can say, it's definitely
that will give us a little bit more information.
Well, here's hoping they crack that and it makes it. But it's a sin because I know, like getting your like is it the Dior? Was it the finger of the one, the Dior?
The DRE, the digital right?
Yeah, clearly I haven't got one because I don't know the name of it. But I know a lot of lads would be kind of like, I don't know, hey, hold on here a minute. But you can start off by getting a blood test.
That's the first stage, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be like, obviously it's as simple as going and getting a blood test, and then I know that it's just, you need to do it. Like if I think like I'm a father, I want to know where I stand in regards to my health. Like we run a gym, we're all about health and wellness and living a good active lifestyle, but like if I don't know what's going on internally and like it hits the fan, then obviously I've got a 3-year-old that I mightn't be around for if I don't go get tested. And I actually haven't been tested, so that's got to be actually on my list, because I'll be honest, I'm on the podcast and I'll let people know when I haven't done it, because I'll hold myself accountable. I wouldn't have actually, I only thought of it there, I actually haven't gone, I'm talking about it, but I've never gone getting it done. So, and I'm 37, so I'm not too far off the 40s.
You should be okay at 37, but you're still within the bracket for testicular cancer though. You should be feeling your nuts a bit more, I reckon. Just in the shower. In the shower, what you want to do is you want to roll your testicle through your fingers softly. You don't want to squeeze it, and you're looking for like a hard pea-sized lump. Okay. There are like little jiggly bits at the back that sometimes you feel and you get a bit worried about, but they're okay. They're normal. But and see, the thing with testicular cancer is you've got to do it relatively frequently, so that you know what's normal, so you notice if something is new. And
we have a story of my sister-in-law's cousin died very rapidly, passed away very of testicular died years ago, and he was in his early 20s, and he had literally chronic pain there, but he was too embarrassed, again, to be 22-year-old, pain there, didn't want to go to a doctor, and eventually when he did go, it was too late. And it's just, it can hit, it just means it doesn't, again, like I said, I'm 37, you're saying with prostate, by the time you're 40, you want to be getting tested annually. But for testicular cancer, regardless of what the stats are, like at any age, it can happen. So I think he was 22, could be 23. I'm not 100% sure on his age, but he was in his early 20s. And by the time he did get checked, it was too late, and I think he passed within a month then. When they figured it out.
Testicular cancer is a young man's disease.
Okay.
As young as 15. Even maybe a bit younger, but 15 to 30, 35 would be the general bracket for testicular cancer. and then as you kind of leave that bracket, you're going into prostate cancer. So there's kind of a bit of a handover to what you're most at risk of, depending on what age you're at. But you know, it goes back to that piece we started with about not going. You notice something's not right, and not going to go check it out. The tip hurler, all Ireland winning tip hurler, Noel McGrath, had testicular cancer and survived. But he said that his left nut was the size of a Schlither for about 3 months before he went and got it checked out. And he's just like, oh Jesus, you know, and it just got to the point that he couldn't ignore it. And this is what we're all about. This is why the Movember campaign, you know, we raise a lot of funds that go to a lot of really great programs that we can talk about, but it also raises a lot of awareness. It starts that conversation, it gets the information out there, and you know, with this sort of stuff, knowledge is power. It can save someone's life if they hear, oh, that's how I should check my nuts, I should go do it. You know? And
then again, all that, like how to check, like kind of self-care, like the information on Movember site, like, so you can check that out, you can look that up, and then go do it. Like, just go do it and have it done, because like, as you look at the tip hurler, like 3 months with like a Schlitter sized ball is not normal for anyone. But again, it's that whole, like, I think male mentality of strong man doesn't say anything, doesn't show weakness and stuff like that. And I just think that's something that kind of needs to change now. Again, I would go down the road as I don't want to, like, don't have to become a soppy crier 24/7, but like showing that you look after yourself and showing that you care about your fellow man and helping them out, and then listening and understanding to them, I think is pretty good. So onto, as you said, like you're studying and with the goal of kind of like the mental health aspect of it. So this is something that I've helped people raise money for. I don't know enough about it, and as you spoke about off camera, I would be someone that would be on the lines of, if you're having a bad day, suck it up, buttercup, come on, let's go, brush it off. But now knowing that I have no idea what that person's going through outside of the time I spend with them, saying that could be actually just compounding their issue of being kind of nervous or depressed or having anxiety. So where like kind of yourself and your education and Movember on like kind of mental health awareness, and like even like to the point of suicide prevention, which would mental health can lead to people wanting to take their life.
Yeah, so it's a really complicated issue. There's no easy way to go about tackling it. And there's a lot of really good organisations already active in the space. Pieta House, Samaritans, they have really excellent emergency services that if people get to crisis point, if they're at the point of suicide ideation, they can call these phone lines, they can access these services. Movember, primarily in Ireland especially, is looking upstream. So when we first came into the mental health space, we didn't want to just come in and say, okay, we're here to save the day. You got to give the organisations that have been working in the space for longer than you have their due credit. And so we actually sat down with some of those guys and we said, look, we're looking at mental health and suicide prevention with a male lens. What do you guys think we should do? And the consistent response was, we don't need you guys to fund another phone line for men not to call.
Actually
You know, so with that we realised that the issue that we really need to tackle was cultural. It was upstream, so before it gets to that point of suicide, that critical point that I talked about a moment ago, before it gets there, we need to change culture. We need to instigate this cultural shift. And so the way we do that is by educating people, by getting people to talk more. And so it was actually World Suicide Prevention Day yesterday. So we do, we release a global piece of content around that time of the year, and it started off with encouraging people to talk. Then the following year was asking people to unmute, so about active listening, so ask, listen, connect with people. And then this year it was around the Rugby World Cup, who we talked about half-time, be a man of more words and talk at half-time. So we do a lot of work at that upstream place, trying to instigate that cultural shift. And then some of the programs we're looking at the more on the ground stuff. We're looking at specific at-risk groups.
Yeah.
So one of them is that you actually might be interested in. It's called Ahead of the Game.
Okay.
And it's a mental health training program done through sports clubs.
Okay.
Could be any sports.
Yeah.
And so in the same environment that these kids are learning, the kids are around 8 to 12. Is that?
That's the kids we work with 7 to 12-year-olds. Yeah.
So before those kids go into their teens and shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
You teach them about mental resilience. You teach them about you teach them the vocabulary, how to identify things, how to articulate things, how to look out for themselves, how to look out for each other, and in the same environment that they learn about their physical health, they learn about their mental and emotional health. And so the idea is that before they go into the teens, you create this more emotionally literate generation of kids who can properly navigate that, and rather than having people in their late 20s who've learned all these negative coping mechanisms and they're kind of crippled, and then they're at that crisis point, we can avoid that and actually teach people how to properly navigate that into adulthood.
I want you ahead of the
game.
Ahead of the game. So that's something definitely I'm 100% into, because we deal with a lot of kids, and it's a lot of kids that would come from a negative sporting background. And again, I'm not against team sports in any way, shape or form, but there is an emphasis on the best players play, and then you're the benched kid, and then you get disillusioned by the sport because it becomes not fun anymore. When you're very young, everyone plays, and then as you get older, it's the team wants to win, and if you're not up to scratch on the coach's view, you're going to be benched. And that's, I think, it's a tough, it can be a lesson, but it's only a good lesson if it's taught to be a good lesson, that you need to work harder and then show them what steps to take. But we get kids come in that, like, again, they've been bullied through sport, bullied in school, because they're different. They might be slightly bigger, or they're not naturally coordinated, or they're not like cool or whatever. And our response to everyone that comes in the room is that if you do what we ask, it's going to be tough, but I guarantee you in a year you're going to be a stronger person, and then in 2 years you're going to be even stronger than that. And we always use our coach Rian, who came to me at 13, was not being picked for sports, and I promised him one thing. I said, if you stay with me for a year, I'll make you the strongest kid in your school. And now he's the youngest strength coach in Europe for coaching kids, and he's actually outlifted me now, which is, it's a positive from a coaching point of view. I'm very happy. From a personal point of view, I'm realizing my age. But yeah, and his mental resilience through school, he's had a tough time through school, but he's able to kind of process it a little bit stronger than, as you said, guys, and they get compounded and through their teens, and then as you said, kind of shit can hit the fan when they're in their 20s, and then they can't talk to anyone, they don't know how to cope with it. So ahead of the game, definitely, is there a link and stuff like that we could get? I can post that on the podcast.
Yeah, I can send you some stuff.
100% would love that, because that's the only place where we're kind of, like, we would talk about being a good human, be a good human, say hello to people, respect everyone in the room because they're all on their own journey, but having more information to educate our kids on, I'd totally be interested in the kind of work with that, and our teens and our adults for that matter. That'd be awesome. So Movember 2019, what's Ireland's plan, what's the goal for you guys as the organisation?
So the Movember campaign is all about fundraising. That's when we raise all the funds that let us do all the work the rest of the year. So we've got loads of stuff. We've got a big launch event. It's on the 27th of October. Okay. We've got there's already some fundraising events in the calendar, like Love Naquilla's big hike. I think they're doing Carntool this year. Okay, yeah, cool. Fire Brigade are back on board, the Guards. We got all our corporate guys in Google. And, AirCap. We've got supporters all over the country. And the campaign this year is whatever you grow will save a mo. So even if you've got a crappy mustache, that'll do. If you've got a big bushy mustache, that'll do. If you've got a creepy mustache, that'll do. And then obviously if you don't want to grow a mustache, you can't grow a mustache, you can't take on the Move Challenge, or or host an event. So we've got, there's, for most listeners who want to support us, there's loads of ways people can get involved.
And we're gonna, like at FSM, we're gonna promote it. We did it a few years ago, as I said, and I was rocking a very cool handlebar mustache. On the 1st of December, I was required to remove it as heads of my partner. But looking forward to getting another one back. But we're gonna do a big promotion for Movember this year. We're going to try and get as many guys on board as possible. Again, we're going to raise as much money as we can. We're a small organization, but we'll do what we do. There will be a hook. I will do some stupid exercise feat if we raise enough money, and because the last time was 670 something burpees I did for the amount of money we raised individually. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and we're going to try and literally just do as many events in November to raise as much money as we can, because it's something that I feel like it's going to affect me some way, shape or form, as either will be me, my family, or someone I know that's close to me that will be affected by this. And I will have those conversations and making people more awareness. And again, that's why we have Jack on the show today, to try and get more awareness out there. And like Movember's doing an amazing job, but like people that would listen to our podcast or follow us on Instagram mightn't be liking or subscribing to Movember on Instagram or Facebook. All the links will be in the show below, so definitely check them out, give them a link and go get tested. But just before we wrap things up, Jack, is there anything that you have, or anything you want to kind of say on the organization or on the charities, the kind of anything before we go or sign off? Or was fumbled, but we'll go.
Just support your local mustaches. If it's not going to be you, look out for the guys who are growing. And give them a nod, compliment their mustache. They need all the encouragement they can get, believe me.
Perfect. So guys, we're going to wrap up this show. This was a show I was looking forward to do when I first contacted Jack about it, and he was happy enough to come out to FSM and record. And so Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, if you're listening to us on Podbean and soon to be on Spotify, don't forget to follow us and give us a like and a positive comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, please again like and subscribe and help promote Movember. And every week we're rolling out new podcasts with myself and some cool guests. And again, Jack is this is as I said, this is one of the podcasts that I've been looking forward to do, because it's something that I hold dear in regards to charity and men's health and men's mental health. So I'm very happy to have that on. So guys, thank you for listening, and we will check back in with you in a week. We're out.